The bases dropped on a Friday edition of Soccer Down here. August 9th is the date. It's a busy weekend ahead. New York City FC coming to town after a come-from-behind kind of cardiac sort of win last night. It was a weird night in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. NYC struggled to beat a Houston Dynamo team that came in and did a lot of what they did in Atlanta, where they decided to sit back deep. They picked up a fairly early red card, and this time the Dynamo battled almost all the way into a win, and then it turned into a loss. We'll get into all of that. We'll get into NYC coming to town, what they could look like, because they threw some different things out on the field last night than what we'd been seeing lately. We'll preview all of that with Doug Robertson and Mike Conti in a little bit, but it's a big weekend around MLS. There's a lot of interesting matches, quite a few rivalry matches actually this weekend as well, and we're going to get into your favorite new segment, the Juice Box Purveyor segment. We'll see what they are saying about this weekend's action around Major League Soccer. John is reporting live from Central Georgia.
Check.
Warner Robins, to be exact?
That is accurate, sir, yes.
All right.
This week and next, as a part of one of the other me's, catching up with high school football coaches since we're getting ready for scrimmages and regular season. So today is Central Georgia, and next week we'll be somewhat down in South Georgia, so we'll be in Tifton for a couple of days as we report from the show.
Is next week actual games, or is next week scrimmages?
This week and next week are scrimmages because the calendar was like longer for some reason this year, and the week shifted. So this week is the first week of scrimmages. Next week is the second and last week of scrimmages. So the regular season starts like a week later than we're used to. Okay,
got it. So you could play 2 preseason games / scrimmages if you wanted to, basically.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, now I'm back. I'm understanding what's going on in the high school football world. Let's see what's going on in the MLS world. And the action for the weekend starts tomorrow afternoon. Seattle with an early kick out west hosting New England. The Revs are unbeaten in their last 5 away from home. Crazy that we're still talking about New England in this way. They did finally lose a match at home to LAFC over the weekend. A lot of teams have lost to LAFC, so that's not really too much of a shock. Both teams coming in off of a loss. Seattle lost at home as well to Sporting Kansas City, and a kind of a shock last week. I think that's fair to say.
Yep.
This feels like a really weird one when you start talking about juice boxes. Yes. What are they thinking?
Seattle minus 118, New England plus 300.
Ooh.
Spicy out of the blocks.
That's a good number because the Revs are not your old Revs. And Seattle, they did make a couple of moves yesterday. We were waiting to see what it was going to be. Not quite as big as I think they maybe teased themselves, because there was talk when they signed Xavier Arriaga in the last window that they were going to make some big moves in the summer. Well, Emmanuel Cicchini's not bad. No, that's a nice move. That allows you to play Gustav Svensson in the back. That gives you another central midfielder as long as he hits the ground running, and you're good to go. And Luis Silva is the other one. Good depth piece. He's been a depth piece around the league for a little while now. Was at RSL last in the league, was playing in Finland, I believe, recently, and he comes back home. Okay. How's Seattle going to cope without Roman Torres as they're trying to figure these things out? I kind of like that plus 300 number for the Revs. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a little closer to evening those numbers out, I'd back away from it. But plus 300 for me, I would, if I were so inclined and had extra juice boxes. Not that we neither condone nor endorse that kind of behavior. We just wish on safe juice boxing, please.
Safe juice boxing is the thing. We are fine with juice boxing. Just be safe with your juice boxing. Yes,
but plus 300 out of the blocks in our numbers for the weekend, courtesy of our friends at Bet365. That's a juicy juice box number.
Yeah, that's one that grabs your attention straight out of the gate. So, all right, another one that's going to grab your attention: the Hell is Real Derby. And
it is.
We've talked about it. There's billboards. That's why it's called Hell is Real. I guess whatever works, and it's got some legs to it. So cool. Billboards have caused this one. Columbus hosting Cincinnati. Cincinnati has lost 4 straight, but Cincinnati is in the midst of a makeover, and we'll see if maybe some of those new faces jump straight into the lineup. Columbus, on the other hand, they haven't lost in their last 4, and that was coming off of a horrendous run of form. Feels like a pretty big home favorite here, but what do the juice boxes think?
Yeah, juice boxes are right there with you. Columbus at minus 223, FC Cincinnati at plus 700, and the line that I use is Hell is Real, and it's Ohio soccer.
Oh, man. I don't know, because of all the weirdness and because Columbus has just been so bad this season, if I had a juice box to play, that might be one that you throw it on just because of absolute chaos. It's a rivalry match.
Wait, what direction? Are you throwing it in the direction of the new coach?
Of course. It's a plus 700 number, and it's one thing when you see a favorite like a Seattle that is a good team. Columbus is not a good team.
No.
They're not. They're better than they've been, but they're not a good team. Cincinnati is not a good team either. But
no.
Plus 700, that's a lottery ticket. And that's an actual somewhat realistic lottery ticket. That's a good scratch off. That's not even like the full Powerball ticket. That's a scratch off where you might win a little.
So that's
something.
like going into the convenience store in the small town and grabbing a scratch off because they have all the banners in the window saying so and so won here, and they have like them plastered all over the cash register.
If there's a bunch of them on that convenience store, yeah, that's what that number feels like. It's like, oh well, okay, a bunch of people have won here, so, and a bunch of people have won at Montfrey Stadium, so just saying. Cincinnati plus 700 is one of those that grabs your attention. They're just so hard to predict because does Derek Etienne go straight into the lineup? Do we see Joe Giao? Does he start to factor in? Just do we see guys playing for a new coach?
I want to know what Derek Etienne's attitude is.
Well, his attitude seems like it's pretty much, singing CeeLo songs to the New York Red Bulls. Because it's a loan. Man, some of the things that were said, it doesn't sound like a loan. It sounds like adios. Red
Strike
Bulls.
match back away.
Yeah. So I think he's going to be fired up, and that could be to Cincinnati's advantage. I don't think it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's one you're probably going to want to watch, but you might want to check in and see what happens at the end. Toronto, Orlando is next, and you've got 2 teams with a little bit of desperation. You got 2 teams that both played in domestic competition in midweek. You've got 2 teams that are just outside of the playoff race, and you've got a team in Orlando that has never won in Toronto. Never won a match in Toronto. I don't think they do here. I think Toronto stays within shouting distance, and maybe, depending on what happens with New England and Montreal, maybe Toronto gets into a playoff spot because I think they get a win here.
Toronto FC minus 200.
Feels about right.
James O'Connor face at plus 500.
Yeah, I like an underdog, but
not that. I don't like him that much.
Not after getting beat by your rivals in your house in the Cup in your biggest game in club history. It feels like a letdown game. It really does for Orlando. Dallas hosting Minnesota. This is a fascinating one. Minnesota has not lost in their last 7. probably last 8 in all competitions. Dallas hasn't lost in their last 6 at home. You got the Loons coming in, trying to get that Open Cup bounce after beating Portland, going to a final for the first time. They beat Portland on the weekend as well in league play, so Minnesota's feeling pretty good about themselves. Dallas has been really good at home. Dallas is in a little bit more of a precarious situation when it comes to the playoffs. This could be a bit of a toss-up. What are the juice boxes thinking?
You got any spare juice boxes?
Uh-oh.
FC Dallas, minus 134.
Yeah, okay.
Minnesota United, plus 375.
Ooh. Adrian Heath just threw everything when he heard that. He just threw everything, destroyed the office.
Threw the bottle of red wine at the wall.
He said that the juice box purveyors' flags would be at half-mast when Minnesota gets the win here. So, I don't know what the juice boxes are crazy this weekend. We're only through 4 games. I feel like the Minnesota pick might be the best one out of what we've seen.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Man, okay. Yeah, that might be the juice box pick of the week. Sporting Kansas City. Yeah, seriously. Sporting Kansas City hosting Real Salt Lake. Sporting coming in after a massive win in Seattle last week. RSL, they have not won in their last 5 away from home, and now you're getting conversations with their owner, Delloy Hansen, speaking to fans in the stands about seriously considering firing Mike Petke after what happened and what was said and all of the investigations. You've got turmoil in RSL. This feels like a big win at home for Sporting.
Sporting's at minus 138, and Real Salt Lake also carries that plus 375.
Not touching the plus 375 there.
Nope.
And honestly, that minus isn't too big of a minus for Sporting. That, if you want a sure pick, that feels like a pretty good one to me. I think Sporting wins it comfortably. All right, another kind of desperation match, Chicago and Montreal. The Fire, it's must-win for them. They have to get 3 points here to keep their playoff hopes realistic. Montreal's got a lot of new faces. Do we see any of them this week? Who knows? Probably not. One of the new faces that has come back into this team and had a big match in the midweek in Canadian championship competition was Nacho Piatti. Montreal, they've lost their last 5 on the road after starting the season great on the road. Chicago, on the other hand, they've only lost 1 of their last 11 at home. They're not winning all of those, but they're not losing them either. This is a really weird match, and I don't have a strong feeling about it any which direction.
Okay, so then I will just present the information and see if your opinions change about how many juice boxes you put in the cart.
Here we go.
Chicago, minus 163.
That's a big number.
Montreal, plus 450.
Oh, man. The juice boxes are wacky this week. What in the world? That's huge.
I think the purveyors are looking at the midweek action as a detraction. Was a poet, didn't know it.
Yeah, and it could be. Man, that's crazy. It's an underdog kind of week with the juice boxes. I can tell you that much. There's a lot of nice underdog plays this week if you are feeling juicy. Colorado and San Jose. The Quakes have only lost 1 time in their last 12. However, Colorado have won their last 3 at home against San Jose. And I don't think the plague was involved in any of those.
Prairie dogs.
Another thing to keep in mind here, you might want to look at the over. 3+ goals scored in 23 of Colorado's last 27 matches. All the goals in Rapids matches.
Okay, so here we go. You want to start with the total of 2.5?
Yeah.
Total of 2.5. The over minus 200.
Yeah, that's a good number to be set by our Juice Box friends.
Colorado plus 187. San Jose plus 130. They're thinking draw.
Yeah, I'd lean Quakes. I think San Jose's the far better team here, and Colorado's lost their luster just a little bit. I'd lean Quakes, but yeah, I'm not too sold on any of that other than the over, but that's a number that's not that attractive, so I'm going to stay away from that one. See how the Quakes do afterwards. Portland and Vancouver is your Saturday nightcap. It is a Cascadia Cup match. It's one that gets overlooked quite often when we talk Cascadia Cup. Portland, one loss in their last 13 at home. However, they are coming in after back-to-back losses on the road to Minnesota, one in league, one in an Open Cup semifinal. Giovanni Savarese probably not very happy. I don't know if he goes with the blue, very deep blue suit with the white kicks. That's been a look that Gio likes to rock on the sideline on occasion. That blue suit, I think, was his good luck suit last year. Might need it after back-to-back losses. Also, and this is maybe the most interesting number of the weekend, Vancouver has won the last 3 matches against Portland. Can they do it again? Oh, it's Vancouver in 2019. I don't know.
I ain't thinking no. Portland minus 334, Vancouver plus 800.
Oh, wow. No love for the Whitecaps. And I'm not
Zero. Not touching it. No, sir.
You could put plus 2,000, and I'm not putting any juice boxes anywhere near a Vancouver Whitecaps jersey. I feel sorry for the Couch Ultras out in Vancouver. They are outstanding, and they deserve better. I can't remember what their robot Zamboni vacuum cleaner thing is called, but the Couch Ultras win Twitter, but I don't think they're celebrating a win against Portland. Philadelphia and Houston on Sunday, first match after Atlanta and NYC kick off the Sunday action. Dynamo hearts broken after their loss last night. They put up a really good fight after a red card on the road, trying to avoid divots at Yankee Stadium, had to wait out lightning, all kinds of chaos, and they lose it at the death. Philadelphia didn't play in the midweek, and Philadelphia has 4 straight clean sheets against Houston. Sounds like a big Union win.
Union minus 223. Houston plus 550.
The only thing I'd say about Houston and that plus 550 number is remember Toronto, where they had a similar scenario, except it wasn't a heartbreaking loss after a red card. It was kind of a spanking here in Atlanta, but they went to Toronto and won. Now Toronto rotated 7 guys in their lineup. I don't think Philadelphia has to do that. I don't think they're even thinking about that. So I don't think that plan works for Wilmer Cabrera this time. It really feels like with the moves they made and the great interview that our friend Felipe Cardenas had with Albert Ellis and Mauro Manotas, it feels like we are seeing the final games for Manotas and Ellis with the Dynamo, and they might be gone before the season's over, with transfer windows still open in many places, and with Christian Ramirez and Nico Hansen coming in. I think that's a distraction, and Philadelphia gets a comfortable win here and stays on top of the East because of it. 2 fascinating East Coast-West Coast games to finish us off on Sunday. DC hosting the LA Galaxy. Galaxy, 3 straight losses, 3 straight shutouts on the road. DC, the lineup is all over the place. You bring in Ola Kamara, you bring in Emma Boateng. Kamara might take a minute to get into the mix. Boateng could hit the ground running. You went and got Felipe Martins from Vancouver because every defensive midfielder you have keeps getting injured. DC also hasn't won in their last 3 matches. This is such a weird game at Audi Field. The Wayne Rooney stuff. This is part of the Wayne Rooney farewell tour. It feels to me that DC gets the win here, but I'm not too sure of it.
Yeah, which means you need to back away. DC United plus 130. Galaxy plus 190.
The plus 130, that's a pretty appealing number for a home team in a match where, look, I think they're in better shape. I think the Galaxy, now they don't have Emma Boateng. They're probably not going to have Christian Pavón. They're still waiting on paperwork, and I don't think they get it in time. He did train with the team this week, so, maybe. It was a great introduction video for Christian Pavón. The Galaxy get credit for that. I don't think that helps them to a win here, though. I think DC wins it, and that's a plus number for a home team is always good, and then one that you feel good about. That's, a match DC can win. That's a number that's pretty nice. Nightcap on Sunday. LAFC hosting the New York Red Bulls. LAFC 1 loss in their last 10 at home, plus 4 or more goals at home for LAFC in their last 3 matches. Red Bulls have been all over the map. It's like win-loss, good, really bad. Aaron Long is staying, it appears, although there was a pretty big offer, it sounds like, that was turned down. How's his head right? The Derek Etienne stuff, is that going to affect anybody else? LAFC should win this, and should win it comfortably, in my opinion.
Minus 334 for LAFC.
I don't know about that comfortably, but okay.
Red Bulls, plus 800.
Oh, wow. Man, that's insulting to the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
That's the kind
a
of
huge number.
Yeah, that's the kind of number.
That's a Vancouver. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about this. Vancouver's at plus 800. FC Cincinnati's at plus 700 to win their matchups against Portland and Columbus, respectively. Red Bulls are plus 800 against LAFC as a comparison.
It's LAFC, which is different than Portland and Columbus, and that factors into it. But if you're Chris Armas, if you're a team leader with the Red Bulls, you go grab the juice box sheet and you put that up in the locker room and you say a lot of things about it, because that is basically saying that last year's Supporter Shield winners have no chance in this game against who will likely be this year's Supporter Shield winners. Oh, that's one of those numbers that makes you think about it. I think LAFC is the better team, and I think there's too many weird things going on for the Red Bulls at the moment. I do think LAFC gets the win here, but that's one that number feels too big. And the Red Bulls they're going to get some action because of that number for sure, because they're a team that they can go in and pull off an upset for sure. They have the ability to do it. Don't think they do here, though.
No.
So your underdog specials of the week. New England is a strong possibility. Cincinnati is a strong possibility. What was the other one? Montreal is a strong possibility.
Yeah, 450.
Yeah, those are the ones that feel like pretty good plays. DC at home with the plus number next to it. That feels like a good play. Yeah, that's probably the ones. There's some other ones that are interesting.
Do you want the local juice box number?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Atlanta United, minus 134.
Okay.
NYCFC, plus 333.
It's a little high for NYC, but the fact that they played last night,
yeah,
it does have an effect. The absence of Joseph Martinez, which we expect, and we'll get some confirmation here in a bit when Frank DeBoer speaks to the media. One of those media members will be Doug Robertson of the AJC, who joins us after the break. That changes it too. So, yeah, those numbers feel a bit right, maybe slightly high for NYC.
Yeah. But, yeah, you look at New England, that's a big number. And I know that you looked at Hell is Real and you kind of lit up a little bit. Montreal's number for me is big. Ain't no way I would ever touch the Vancouver number being as big as it is. And the Red Bulls number big, even though it is LAFC. So yeah, I think the midweek, in talking this through, I think the midweek action has played into the juice box purveyors' minds and giving these large numbers for the visitors.
So you've got 5 juice boxes. You can't split it. You can only put it on one match. What are you picking?
Whew. I can't split them up.
No, you got 5. You can't split it, and you have to pick one game to put it on.
I'm going to be that guy and go on Hell is Real and put it on Cincinnati.
Okay. Actually, no, let's do this. Okay, you've got 5. You got 5 juice boxes. What are you playing them on? You can split it. Do whatever you want. You got 5 juice boxes. What are you picking?
2 on Hell is Real, 2 on Cincinnati.
Okay.
2 on Montreal, 1 on New England.
I think I'm going to go with 2 on Montreal, 1 on New England, 1 on Cincinnati, and 1 on the Red Bulls.
Okay.
Just because Red Bulls could make chaos out
at
of it.
800.
Yeah.
800.
It's not crazy that the Red Bulls get a win there. It's pretty nuts, but it's not loony bin. So if I've got a juice box to throw, I'll throw it there and see what happens. I feel like I'm going to hit one of those.
Yeah, for me, I'm just going to make sure that when I do go to the convenience store and get the scratch off, it is that convenience store in the middle of nowhere that has a lot of plastered up winter notices on the window where you buy the cigarettes and the gas.
Well, I think that's Columbus. I mean, that's the one, is if you're looking at the road team going in with a legitimate chance of making something crazy happen, it's Columbus, because Columbus just hasn't been good this year. They've been much better lately, but they've been a bad team this year. And Cincinnati, who knows? It's a wild card. So interesting predictions on the weekend preview when you start talking about juice boxes. We'll talk more about some tactics. We'll talk more about some absences. We'll talk more about the vibe heading into the Benz. Doug Robertson of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution joins us to talk NYC and Atlanta United right after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Friday edition previewing the weekend. I think what I've learned from this weekend's juice box purveyors is that I need more juice boxes to work with because there's some appealing numbers this week. Let's see what Doug Robertson thinks about the numbers for Atlanta and NYC. What's up, Doug? How are you?
I'm fine. How are y'all?
Good. What'd you think about NYC last night? That was a really weird night at Yankee Stadium with weather delays, with falling behind to a team with 10 men, but fighting back to find 3 points late.
I would love to see a heat map of where the ball is on that field, because really, as small as that field is, it's actually only 2/3 playable because of that grass on the right. If you watch that game, nobody did anything down that right side of the field on offense, either team, because the grass just comes up all over the place. But anyway, NYCFC should have won that game comfortably. Hebert missed 3 good chances in the second half all by himself. Houston, just stick a fork in Houston and stick a fork in Wilmer Cabrera. They won't win for him. Outside of a hot start, they just won't. They had every chance to get at least a point out of that game. Complained about a non-call, gave up a goal when the midfielder switched off on the non-call. Give credit to NYCFC. They kept fighting and they pushed and got a huge 3 points, which puts a lot more pressure on Atlanta on Sunday, I think. I still don't know who's going to score the big goals for them. I'm still not too impressed by their defense, particularly giving up goals to Houston, the 10-man Houston. But it should be a good game on Sunday.
When you look at NYCFC, to your point, Doug, you don't know which NYCFC you're going to get. They are like the box of chocolates. When it comes to Atlanta United, obviously we'll find out what Joseph Martinez's health is. Are you anticipating pretty much the same kind of formational approach and attack that we saw midweek in Open Cup, or are you seeing anything differently when it comes to guys who start? What's your gut before you hear things from FDB?
No, I think you'll keep the 3-5-2. They've got 4 shutouts in 5 games or something like that using it, or 3 and 5. And they're scoring goals. They seem more comfortable. I'm curious about the striker situation in the game. Tito, came off the bench, didn't really look like himself against Orlando, or the Tito that we're kind of used to. I really didn't think Pitti played well as a striker. Just, a lot of the same issues that I think we've seen all season. Lost the ball way too easy and showed absolutely zero desire to win it back when he did. And when you're asking somebody to lead the line in place of Joseph, and that's the effort, that's a little bit concerning to me. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's what's tricky without Joseph Martinez right now, is you don't have anybody who really is comfortable leading the line. I mean, Pitti Martinez in that role is a second forward. He's looking to drop in and combine behind whoever would be leading the line. I think Barco is more comfortable in that role too. That was why when we talked about possible scenarios, I think, honestly, you'd love to have Tito Villalba ready to give you a start and give you 60 minutes. I don't think he's there yet because he could be that player. Justin Merrim's far more of a wild card in that role, but he's had a little more experience doing it. It's really tricky without Vasquez, without Villalba as a starter, and without Joseph Martinez, because you just can't play in the exact same way. I do think you have to give the team some credit for having the patience and finding a way to work with what they had in Orlando on Tuesday and make it work. And it's, of all people, Eric Remedi, who started to fill that gap of you don't have a focal point in front, so you have the late run that throws the defense off, and Remedi was outstanding in that regard.
Yeah, I thought Frank got everything right on Tuesday. I mean, everything right, considering what he had to work with. And, yeah, Remedi was the guy. Usually it had been Nagbe for a small stretch in the middle of the season. It's the guy getting forward and getting involved in the attack. And Remedi, just nobody was tracking him. I don't know if that was supposed to be Question. I don't know who it was supposed to be for Orlando. But he just kept finding himself in space and kept being able to take advantage of it. And it was smart play and credit to him. And again, this was something that that I complained about with Pitti earlier in the season. He was putting his shots on frame. And when he did, it caused problems and led to that first goal.
When you look at the East right now, Doug, just in general, from 30,000 feet, and I like to do this occasionally just to kind of gauge folks when they're looking at things. Right now, we were looking at 9 for 8 or something like that. Are you still? This, I guess, is the weekly question of me asking this. Is it still 9 for 8 in your mind, or is the herd thinning out when it comes to the business end of the schedule here? What are you seeing?
Well, I thought it was 8 for 7 2 weeks ago, and then Orlando won. Yeah, Orlando won last week and got all the results to go its way. So now I think we're back to 9 for 7. But if Toronto beats Orlando this week, I think Orlando's done. And I hate that, as I've said on Twitter, even though Orlando supporters hate me. I think it would be fantastic for the team, for the league, for the Lions to make the playoffs. I think that fan base, its passion, its willingness to keep coming out, even though the results haven't always gone its way, they deserve a good reward that's more than just the exhibition all-star game. But they've got to beat Toronto. If they don't beat Toronto, they're done. And I guess DC or Montreal could fall back because neither one of them are playing well, and Orlando could back into the playoffs. But this is a 6-point game for them, much as it is for Atlanta United and NYC for seeding. This is a 6-point game on Sunday for both teams. So 2 important games.
Any other concerns coming out of Tuesday with Joseph injured? I know everyone's kind of on pins and needles about anybody else, how they're feeling coming out of it. And you had Villalba make his first appearance in quite a while, late, not a ton of minutes, but he hopefully comes out of it okay. Barco couldn't get much into the second half, which wasn't a shock. I think the way that the sub happened was maybe a little surprising, but the actual substitution wasn't a shock. How was everybody feeling coming out of Tuesday when you spoke to players and Frank?
They look good. They felt good. Yeah, the Barco substitution was really bizarre. I don't know if Frank just didn't want to tip his hand to Orlando by having Carlton warming up at halftime as if he was going to be an immediate second-half sub. That's the only thing I could think of as to why he then subbed Carlton on. They said Barco played 50 minutes on the score sheet, but he only played 47. He came out at the 48th minute. So, yeah, it was weird. But Carlton came on and played well, I thought. Showed a lot of energy, and that was a good thing to see. But, no, I didn't really have any injury concerns. One thing that I did find really, really interesting was putting Franco Escobar at left wing back when Pogba came on. Because – Yeah, Gressel has gone and gone and gone, and as we know, he will continue to go and go every time he's called. But at some point, the man needs a break. And having Pogba back in the center-back trio, you can put Escobar at right wing-back where he excelled last year in the playoffs, and give Gressel a break.
I think getting Bello back will give you that possibility to get him on the left. I don't think Pogba's got the wheels and maybe the fitness to play on the wing-back side, and especially against Orlando with Huon
Doug Robertson,
and,
the Atlanta
and the right back. Doug's trying to get into the VIP section.
Put that up. Just talking about
we'll get Doug in.
The reason I brought...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's
is
okay.
Because with Pitti and Barco as the two strikers, Gressel's biggest strength on offense as that right wing back is kind of taken away.
100%.
Because neither Pitti or Barco are going to win headers. And Barco's quick enough to get into the spaces between the center backs, but not nearly as quick as Joseph for those good curling crosses that Gressel puts in. So part of me wouldn't be surprised on Sunday if we see Gressel get a break, Franco in as the right wing back, Miramar Pereira as the left wing back, and Pogba coming in as one of the center backs. That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
we
Very,
need
very
to talk to
possible.
Frank about that.
That'll be interesting to see what he says, because NYC last night threw something out very different than what we had been seeing. They've been playing a 3-4-3 and finding a lot of results with it. And the reason it was working so well was Anton Tinnerholm on the right, who had the night off, so he'll come in fully rested on Sunday, and Ronald Matarrita on the left, functioning as wingbacks, and they're going to bomb forward. So you've got to be able to defend that, and that's where you get back to the conundrum that we've talked about many times with Justin Merrim not being a true defender playing as a wingback. He's done a great job. He's surpassed my expectations defensively. But this could be a game where, you'd love to have a Bello, don't think he's going to be ready yet, or an Escobar on that side to deal with Tinnerholm. He's one of the players for NYC that really scares me.
Yeah, I agree. I like Tinnerholm a lot. If I were Atlanta United and I see Matarrita as a wingback, I am licking my chops on that one.
To attack, yeah.
Yeah, because he's not going to get back.
Nope.
So I don't think NYCFC is going to do that. I really do think NYCFC is probably going to try to bunker. 1 point is as good as 3 to them in this game, I think, because then they know they get Atlanta United at home in a few weeks. And everyone knows they have a gigantic advantage on that joke of a field. So we'll see what they do there.
Since you both mentioned Justin Merrim either in top in the graphic and rolling over to the side when play actually started, what about seeing folks? We briefly mentioned a guy like Dion Pereira. What about a Mo Adams or something like that off to the sides? Who would be the 18/starting 11 wild cards for you, Doug, come the weekend?
I don't think it'll be Mo Adams. I think that Mo Adams at wingback thing was, frankly, a bizarre experiment that just didn't quite work like Frank hoped it was going to work at LAFC. I think he's much better back in the middle of the pitch. I thought Justin played fantastically well against Orlando. I can't remember how many minutes he put in. To ask him to start again with Club America coming up on Wednesday, I think is a lot. I think you're probably going to see Dion in with Justin starting against the Eagles next week. Other wild cards is Carlton as a starter. I think could be a wild card. I thought he played pretty well. Hyman put in a long, tough shift against Orlando. I thought he worked really hard all over the place. So, yeah, I'm curious about that one too.
All right, let's start getting into predictions here. First, Doug, how big does Liverpool win today?
3-0, I think. Norwich, I think Norwich could be in for a historically bad season in the Premier League.
No, I was thinking Sheffield United would be the historically bad season.
I think it's going to be the Canaries. And I always call them the Builders because of the Sherlock Holmes story, but that's wrong, and I know it. But I love Sherlock Holmes, so I don't care. I think 3-0 for Liverpool. I put it out my EPL predictions on Twitter yesterday. I still don't think they're going to win the league. I think Man City is still too deep, and I don't know. Everyone went bananas over my Wolves in 4th pick. I really like Wolves, and I think they added enough depth to the squad to deal with the Europa League. Arsenal's defense is a shambles. David Luiz, I think a fantastic defensive midfielder, but not so much a center back anymore, if they wanted to kind of reinvent him a little bit. Tottenham, I like Tottenham and some of the stuff they did this summer, so I think they're going to finish Champions League. Manchester United, I'm curious about how they're going to handle. Yeah, I mean, they looked horrible. As soon as they made Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the full-time manager, they just went into the tank. And Chelsea, I think they're going to suffer a little bit this season, but it's going to be for long-term gain. And I think it's going to be tough for them. So then I start clicking the boxes. Everton, I love the moves Everton has made, but when you add so many new faces, it's tough to get going early.
Yeah,
And
Everton's my number 4. I think they're the ones who sneak in.
Well, I mean, when I think about Everton this year, I think about West Ham. I think about West Ham last year.
Could be.
And they added all those new faces and just they stunk coming out of the gate. And they eventually got it turned around, but they couldn't finish higher than 10th. If Everton can get off to a good start, I could see them, racking up a lot of points. But they got to get off to that good start. And then Leicester, you lose your arguably, your best defender. That's just, I know they made some nice moves too, but it's just going to be tough.
All right, so there's your very quick Premier League preview.
Soccer over there.
Kicked off this afternoon with Liverpool. We'll be over at the Brew House for a live show. Myself and our friend Jessica Sharman talking Premier League, and Sean Wright Phillips will join us at around 7 o'clock. So that'll be on the app. You can also come out and join us as well. Let's talk Atlanta NYC and the previews here and predictions. Jarrett chimes in with the 2-1 win, the John Nelson special. NYC creates plenty of chances, but the legs fade late. Atlanta's able to carry the play to a win. John, are you going to stick with your normal 2-1?
Why, yes, I am. And apparently Josh broke the numbers as to how many times I've actually made that prediction.
Yeah.
2-1 win for Atlanta, 15 times across all competitions, 49 predictions this year. So it's only 1/3 of the time, 30% of the time. 7 consecutive 2-1 predictions in MLS matches from matches 13 through 19. So, yes, I'm going to go 2-1 as well.
Yeah, no shock. Doug, what are you thinking?
My black velvet driving slippers lock of the week is a 2-2 draw.
Oh, okay.
Lock of the week.
Then let me ask you, how does Atlanta feel coming out of a 2-2 draw with NYC in this game? Is it a good draw? Is it a bad draw? Is it just a draw?
I think it's just a draw.
Okay.
I think they're aware of not having Joseph. If Barco can't go 90, Villalba not being able to go 90, this other bizarreness on Wednesday that they have to think about a little bit because they can't roll out a B team in that.
Not completely.
No. I think they'll be okay with the draw.
I'm actually feeling pretty good about it after last night's NYC match. I'm going 3-1. I don't think Maxi Morales is anywhere near 90 minutes fit. I don't even know if he's 45 minutes fit, and especially after playing last night. So I don't think we see him in the starting lineup. He might make a cameo late. I do wonder about Dome Tarrant and changing when he did last night lineup-wise, and maybe he just felt like he didn't have a right wing back, didn't want to put Eric Miller into that spot. But Miller looked pedestrian, replacing Anton Tinnerholm. You get Tinnerholm back, but Monterita, is he going to be able to give you another strong performance out wide on the left? Doug's 100% correct. He's not really a player who's going to track back a ton when he gets forward. You don't have Ben Sweat right now. I think there's some frailties about NYC that Atlanta can take advantage of, even without Joseph Martinez. And I think NYC is a team that will get frustrated if they don't have the ball. And I don't expect them to have much of it at the Benz. I think Atlanta takes full advantage, gets a goal early, turns the tides, and NYC just doesn't have the legs to keep up. And it's a 3-1 win for Atlanta in my book.
I'm down with that. I could see that.
We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. NYC's a tough opponent, but I think the schedule's going to hurt them here. Doug, what do you have coming up over at the AJC? And I know on your Twitters you'll have some comments from training here in just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll try to get an injury report on Vasquez and some of the other guys. And then just kind of talk about the importance of this game and what it is going to mean possibly to the team's playoff seedings going forward. We're kind of getting into the nitty-gritty and going to take a look at the teams that could surpass Atlanta United and their schedules, and Atlanta United and what it has left with these 2 extra games that it's got coming up with the Campeones Cup, which I know the team says it's important. I don't think it's important. And the U.S. Open Cup, which is immensely important. So we'll see what happens.
Interesting month ahead for Atlanta United. Thanks, Doug. As always, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Be good.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Final segment, hour number 1 on a weekend preview Friday. I believe we have a couple questions on the Twitters we can hit right now.
Yeah, Four Card Ahmed is asking for a juice box purveyor's explainer.
Okay, so let me try to hit this right. So, for example, if a team is listed as minus 200, Team A, you would have to bet $200 to win 100 or
Correct.
juice boxes. And if a team is plus 300, if you put 100 juice boxes down, you would win 300.
Correct.
And obviously, you'd get your bet back as well. So
yeah, you'd get your bet back, and then it would be an additional number. But the key is that the minus is that you're working from that negative. So whatever that minus number is, to get 100 back, you'd have to put that minus number down. So minus 200, you have to drop 200 to get 100. If it's a plus side, you put down 100, you'd get 700 back, that kind of thing.
Okay. And if you wanted to put 100 down on a minus, then you're just working math to see how much you would actually win, which isn't much.
No, it's not.
It's how typically the juice box purveyors work in the UK, and it's become very common when it comes to the world of soccer worldwide. So it took me a second too. I was so used to, having lived in Kentucky for a little while, I was so used to just basic like odds, like 5-1 or 7-2 or stuff like that.
Nathan Pugh really dislikes the quote-end-quote pitch at Yankee Stadium, but glad a little sprinkle caused the Pigeons to be up even later. Hopefully that loss of sleep aids in their fatigue going into Sunday. Oh, and up the Reds.
I mean, when the Houston Dynamo post a tweet with a please replace your divots sign after seeing a New York player take up a divot the size of King Kong's head, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. And when the NYC announcers are talking about how nobody wants to play in that portion of the field because of how bad the conditions are, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And I would think at this point, having been there since 2015, that NYC would be better with the whole sod laying over the infield thing. It feels like it's gotten worse.
Mm-hmm. That's
I don't
just
remember
that's
these divot
not.
issues before like this.
It's not good. It's not healthy for players because I mean you're exposing them to injuries, especially when you're pulling up 3 feet worth of turf on a slide and a change of direction. It's just you're exposing players to unnecessary injury with stuff like that.
100%. It's an absolute mess. And if you're gonna do this, look, I get it. NYC reportedly is making progress. There's talk. Don Garber says he's very optimistic that the next big stadium announcement is New York City. All that's great. I'm happy for it. But right now, you're playing at Yankee Stadium, and right now you've got to do a better job with these situations. You have to. Others do. I don't see the divot issues that we've seen multiple times at Yankee Stadium this year. You're not seeing those in other places like this. You didn't see them at Coolray Field last year. You didn't see divots like that come up.
First Tennessee.
I haven't seen it.
You saw things slow down because of how things
rain.
were.
Yeah, you saw rain affect it. That's fine.
Yeah.
They did bring out a tarp last night, and they almost knocked over Domain Tarrant doing his halftime interview with setting up the tarp as the weather moved in right at halftime. But it's the divots. It slows down. It slows down. That's fine. It gets waterlogged. It gets waterlogged. Okay, whatever. You can deal with it. But divots coming up like that, I can't think of a stadium, and you see them a bunch in USL Championship, that is a baseball stadium with sod laying over the infield that has had these issues. And Yankee Stadium, you've been there for a while. You should know how to handle this better.
Maybe Lansing? Maybe Cooley Law from League One?
Yeah, and okay, that would be the one. And that, you're talking about a USL League One team in year one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I somewhat understand it. I don't understand it for New York City FC in year 5.
Mm-mm. It's inexcusable. It really is.
Be happening like it is. It is completely inexcusable. It's even beyond the size of the field, beyond the situation, the fact that the field itself is at times dangerous. That's a bigger problem than anything else that they're dealing with right now, and that has to be corrected going forward. Let's take a break. Let's get Mike Conti from 92.9 The Game on the line. More Atlanta NYC preview. We're going to get into the Twitters as well from you guys. We have a question to kick it off, but we're going to get into that in hour number 2. So tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. Let us know what you're thinking for the weekend. We'll be right back after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, SDH on a Friday. Busy weekend ahead in MLS. Some big matches around the league, and a really big one at Mercedes-Benz Stadium with NYC coming to town. We've heard from Doug Robertson on a match day preview special, and now it's time to hear from Mike Conti. What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Not too much. Getting ready for, I think it's an interesting one. I think last night's action at Yankee Stadium maybe adds to that intrigue a little bit. I was surprised by Dome Tarrant not so much rotating the lineup. I thought he kind of had to with a quick turnaround, but rotating the formation, because they have rode the 3-4-3 to a lot of success, and they went away from it last night and did not look as good.
Yeah, but it's a weird match because Houston gets another early red card. A very, very strange match. And I do think that Dome Tarrant pushed the right buttons within the match as far as substitutions were concerned. I mean, obviously bringing on Castellanos, he goes out there and he basically wins you the game when he comes in for Eric Miller. But it is interesting, and it's one of those frustrating things that you look at from afar. And if Atlanta United ends up the number 2 seed in the East by like 1 point or 2 points behind New York City, you look at things like last night's game and what happened at the end of Toronto and what happened at the end of RSL, and you think, wow, it really turned out to be that close and that costly, because Houston absolutely had New York City on the ropes. It looked like they were going to win that game. And then everything just kind of caught up with them, with the field being tilted so severely for the final hour of that game. But, it's hard for me to draw any conclusions about New York City. And I get your point about formation. It's hard to draw conclusions out of a match where Houston also did not have their best lineup, and then they had a red card. And then you had a weird weather delay in there, too, for an hour and 15 minutes. So we'll see how it looks on Sunday against the Benz. I'll just keep going back to what I continue to say, and I feel like I'm repeating myself. But, regardless of formation, regardless of lineup, these two teams always seem to bring out the best in each other and create very compelling matchups. And I'm hoping we'll get the same on Sunday.
One thing on the red card from Houston before we move on. Wilmer Cabrera spoke after the match, and he said this starting his press conference. He said, "First, on behalf of the club and the team that I am the head coach, we apologize, not only to the New York City FC fans, but also to the referees and the people that came to the stadium that are fans of our club, because that behavior, we cannot tolerate that. It will not happen again, because that is against the game. We came to play soccer. We did not come to fight and be superheroes or super machos." That's a great line. That is not what we practice, and that is not what we work on. That is not the way we work in our team. It has happened. It is the second time, and it will not happen again. I promise that to the league, to the referees, to the fans, to the game, because that is not right. That's
good for him.
Strong.
Kyoto will get an additional game, if not 2.
Got to.
It has to. That's about as violent an elbow as you're going to see. So he should get additional games. I like the fact that Wilmer Cabrera did that. He also rebuked Albert Ellis after the Atlanta match, in a little bit of a different way, where he said that he had cautioned his team about that particular referee, because they do have a history with him and to not fall into any kind of trap, and Ellis did. And I like that from Wilmer Cabrera. I like the fact that the manager is owning that. Houston's in trouble now. I mean, they're down to 9th in the West. This is looking like another, unfortunately for them, a disappointing season where, they have all this talent. When you line up to play against them, they're a really scary looking team, and then they have weird things happen. Like a very weird lineup in Atlanta, and then Ellis gets sent off. Or Ellis being suspended last night on yellow cards, and then Kyoto gets sent off. That's got to be very, very frustrating. for Cabrera and for the Houston fans. But I like what he said. I like him taking ownership of that. Doesn't change the fact that New York City found a way to win. And red card matches can be really, really goofy. And I would imagine, if there is one park in MLS where playing with 10 as opposed to 11 might even be, in a weird kind of backwards way, even somewhat of an advantage, it might be Yankee Stadium because that pitch is so small and narrow, So weird match, but New York City got it done. That's what champions do, when you're rotating a lineup or you're not at your best and you're at home and you're down, champions find ways to win. So I respect New York City. I think that's an impressive win for them last night, given how that match unfolded and all the weird things that happened within that match.
Two-part question before we get out of the Bronx. One, do you blow Houston up? And two, does watching that pitch just anger you every single time as much as it does me?
Oh, yes. To part two first. Yeah, I can't stand it. I mean, it's just, and what really bothers me is when they play American football in that stadium, granted it's after the Yankee season is over, but when they play American football in that stadium, the field is pointed in a completely different direction. It's going from home plate to center field. Look, I understand the Yankees run the stadium. The Yankees don't want their infield tinkered with too much. The Yankees don't want to dig up the pitcher's mound and all that. I mean, I get that, but that's what frustrates me, that you can easily shoehorn a regulation 110-yard or 120-yard American football field going from home plate to center field, but when it comes to the soccer team, they go from basically first base to left field, and it's just plain as day obvious without even having to go down and measure it or pace it off or anything like that. It's plain as day obvious that it's a cartoonishly small pitch, and it's a big advantage to New York City, and they can construct teams and lineups to play well in that compressed environment. It also, I think, makes it really, really important when you play a home and home against them that you've got to get 3 points in your home park when New York City comes in, which speaks to this match coming up on Sunday. Does Houston blow it up? John, I don't know what their contract situations are right now. My guess is that Wilmer Cabrera would take the fall for this. I think that's unfortunate. I think he's a really, really good manager. I think they will miss the leadership of DeMarcus Beasley next year. I don't think it's a coincidence that you had this blow-up last night in a match where Beasley did not play. I know he was with the team, but he did not play. He can just be kind of a steady veteran leader for that team. And I don't know where the cool-headed leadership is going to be on this team going forward. But Houston is one of those markets in this league that I think has so much potential. It can be a really, really hot market for MLS. They've got a great downtown stadium. I love Houston Stadium. They've got a great downtown stadium. It's obviously a soccer-mad area. We have talked, Jason and I, several times about they would be well served. Well, for example, Memo Ochoa just signed with Club America. You could somehow find a way to get Memo Ochoa to Houston Dynamo. They're going to be drawing probably twice as many fans as they're drawing
Chicharito.
right now. Chicharito is we've talked about that a great deal, and get the feeling that's coming soon. If they can find a certifiable Mexican superstar or two, I think that would go a long way to helping that club. I think the other thing about Houston that we need to keep in mind is they have played respectably this year against good teams. They played respectably, quite frankly, against Tigres in CONCACAF Champions League. They didn't get through, but they were respectable. So I don't think they're that far away from being a dangerous team in the West, which is probably why I wouldn't blow it up. But I also understand the economics of the league and trying to make a statement to your fans that you're serious about this, John. And that's why I'm afraid that Wilmer Cabrera is probably going to take the fall for all this.
All right, we got to get into a couple things that have popped off in the last hour or so. Carlos Bocanegra was on the morning show over at 92.9 The Game and said that Joseph is day-to-day, light training. He's been doing it, and it could be a game-time decision on Sunday. Felipe Cardenas just tweeted about 5 minutes ago that Joseph is out on the pitch for training. He is sporting a new look, a gray ice-tipped haircut, according to Felipe. And he's got some new boots.
Okay.
So, Joseph, maybe Sunday, possibly, available?
Well, look, this is so tough because I don't know if they've scanned his adductor. I don't know what the scan is showing them. I don't know what Joseph is reporting to the physio staff. I don't know how Joseph feels. I don't know how treatable the injury is. So everything I say from this point forward is idle speculation. I think you can get 3 against this New York City team, even if Joseph doesn't play. I don't worry about this team's ability to score goals right now. Obviously, their ability to defend outside of 12 minutes against LAFC, their ability to defend in the 3-5-2 is literally perfect outside of 12 minutes in LA. So I'm looking ahead at a 3-game road trip plus an Open Cup final. I don't think he plays in Campione's Cup, but a 3-game road trip, where 2 of the games are against certifiable playoff / MLS Cup contenders in Portland and Philadelphia. I think you've got to be really, really careful about this. And again, I don't know what the scans are showing. I don't know how Joseph feels, but adductor injuries are very, very tricky. And if it goes from an adductor strain to an adductor tear, then you've lost Joseph for the season. I would not be pushing him into anything. I would not be rushing him back. But we'll see. But I mean, that's interesting. I mean, this time yesterday, I would have thought Joseph would have no chance to play on Sunday. So the fact that the door is even somewhat open, and that might be gamesmanship too. I mean, this technical staff is certainly demonstrated all year that they get into gamesmanship when it comes to lineup graphics and what they reveal about injuries and not. So it could be gamesmanship, but that's encouraging at least. I mean, if they're at least saying that he's day-to-day and maybe there's an outside chance he plays on Sunday, I guess that beats back the concern that he's got a grade 2 adductor strain and he could be out for a month. I mean, it sounds like he would be way ahead on that timetable, and that's excellent news.
Yeah, definitely not that, and just the fact that I think he's out there today, it's more of a tweak, and everything was so vague on Monday and Tuesday with the description of it. Something just didn't quite feel right. So maybe it's feeling closer to right. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Frank will speak to the media here in just a little bit.
Yeah, and again, I think if it's a one-off situation, you could absolutely go 4-3-3 and put Justin Miram up top. I guess we'll learn a little bit more about Vasquez. It would seem extremely unlikely that Vasquez could give you 90 minutes. It seems extremely unlikely that Tito could give you 90 minutes at this point. I'm not even positive if Barco can give you 90 minutes, but at least you feel comfortable enough to start him. But I think in a one-off situation, if you slotted Justin Miram into Joseph's spot, you would be okay doing it once or twice. Again, I mean, it sounds like this is not a long-term thing, so that's good. That's not a long-term problem. Atlanta United is getting darn close, really darn close now to having everyone in their first-choice group available, including George Bello. And I can't wait to see it because the hint of what we got last Saturday against LA Galaxy is very, very appealing.
And I think we were doing the math, Mike, when it comes to dings, injuries, absences, and it was 11 or 12 players on this roster at any given time who were missing time on the pitch in games that mattered because of injuries. And you still have some of the guys who are on this list who are gone for the season, like Breck Shane, things like that. But you've done all of this with 11 or 12 different injuries at different times where the staff has had to juggle pretty much, I mean, really the staff has had to juggle chainsaws because of all the injuries at points. And you are where you are heading into this rough stretch of the season, but you've basically hitched up your drawers with all these injuries. and you've gotten to where you are because of everything that you put your head to.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And again, terrific job by Frank and the technical staff and really the front office too, because I don't think you're in this spot if you don't go out and get Justin Miram and Emerson Hyman and probably Mo Adams. I think that's been absolutely crucial. But you're right. I mean, this could have very easily gone the way of the season that Sporting Kansas City is having this year, the season that Toronto had last year. And, even with the injuries, you're also not including that you had to navigate a couple matches without Joseph on international duty. You had to navigate a ton of matches without Barco on international duty, and you were able to tread water through all of that. And it's your midseason acquisitions that really helped you do that, I think. Justin Miram and Emerson Hyman in particular. So it's like I tweeted after the Open Cup semifinal on Tuesday night. Very, very, very few fans have it as good as we do right now. Because you've got an aggressive but smart front office that's able to go out, do the things that they need to do to keep you afloat. And you've got a very savvy manager and technical staff that has been setting up the team very, very intelligently over the last couple months. We're lucky. We're very, very lucky. And now they're in an Open Cup final, and they control their own destiny in the Eastern Conference. But, they've got to keep this rolling. You have a big setback either this Sunday or on your upcoming road trip, and then you do run into that slight danger of maybe even missing the playoffs. That's how tight it is in the East right now. So we're lucky, and it's been going really well. And everything you've said, John, is correct. But they've got to keep it rolling because, unfortunately, there isn't a huge margin for error yet.
I want to ask you about Zlatan Ibrahimovic and his comments yesterday.
There we go.
We had a question on Twitter about, asking for our opinions on this, and we haven't gotten into it just yet. Zlatan, we know the man likes to talk. He loves to hear the sound of his own voice. And he was asked about, I don't know exactly what he was asked about. He just started going in on the playoff system. And he said they were, you can guess which word starts with an S and an H. Mm-hmm. And then went on to talk about the mentality of teams celebrating finishing 6th or 7th and so on and so forth. What do you think about Zlatan speaking in this way again?
Okay, well, first of all, I did not see his comments. I've seen a lot about it, but I have not seen it.
I was looking for a transcription to give it to you.
Yeah, I was in meetings all day. Look, it is what it is. Zlatan says things and we all kind of roll our eyes, but Zlatan's also a really gifted player and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, a very, very important player to MLS, a very, very important player in this league. He helps to sell the game. I don't like the MLS playoff format, but probably for a totally different reason than Zlatan. It sounds like Zlatan is arguing that too many teams are in the playoffs. I don't think that's an outrageous argument, by the way. I mean, as it is right now.
I don't think that's what he's actually arguing. I think he inadvertently argued it, and I agree with you.
Okay. I mean, more than half. Right now, the way the league is constructed, more than half the teams in the league make the playoffs. I don't like that. Too many teams get in. But my issue with the playoff format is you went away from a format where the chance of a fluke outcome was reduced, and also you assured that everyone that made or just about everyone that made the playoffs got a home game in playing legs, and you've gone to straight knockout play. I don't like that. I think that's a step back. I understand why you've done it, because you're trying to get more teams in the playoffs. You're trying to make the playoffs go a little faster. You're trying to get it to end before the November International. There's good virtue behind all of that. But I think it increases the probability of a fluke outcome. And quite frankly, I think it increases the probability of some really negative soccer in these knockout games, where if you're in a knockout game, let's say you're in a 2-7 game in the East, and it's, I don't know, let's say Orlando somehow sneaks into the 7th seed and they're going to Atlanta for a knockout game. Orlando, their strategy could very easily be, let's come in and bunker for 120 and try to get this to penalties, because that's our best shot on the road in a knockout game to go through. that's going to create a lot of negative soccer. I feel like when you play legs, there's more of a chance to play straight up, to go out and try and play, because you do have the cushion of being able to have a home leg. I thought the move to straight knockout play was a tremendous step back for MLS. I'm not sure that's what Zlatan's arguing either. I really have no idea what he's arguing.
I think he's just arguing against playoffs as a whole. I think it is the standard, well, we don't do playoffs in Europe, so we shouldn't have playoffs.
Well, and I disagree with that, because I think the playoffs have been a good thing for MLS. Now look, I mean, the Premier League starts today, and the Premier League might be the greatest league in the world because they don't have playoffs, and every regular season match matters. And so many other leagues around the world are like that too. But I think we've seen evidence here in this hemisphere that playoffs can be very compelling and very interesting because it does give everyone a chance. And I think there's still meaning to the regular season, and it makes decision day very intriguing, just as it is across the pond, on their decision day or whatever, the respective leagues call it over there. So, honestly, I think the compromise is you reduce the playoff field, you play legs. If you take the playoff field from 14 teams down to 8, it makes every regular season match that much more important. And then you play legs and you have maybe a little more wide open soccer in the postseason. I would play legs in the MLS Cup final, to be totally honest with you, too. I get the business side of it and the TV side of it, and why a knockout game for the MLS Cup is great for television. But again, I think this league is at the point right now where if they play legs in the MLS Cup final, it can still be a big TV draw.
I'm completely disagreeing with Zlatan in the sense that playoffs are bad. And the reasoning he gave, again, I think it was inadvertent about the size of the playoffs. I think he was basically trying to say, you just have to win the league to be the only champion. If you get into the playoffs, you're celebrating. I don't think anybody's celebrating getting in at 6th or 7th, first off. I don't think
most clubs wouldn't. I have a feeling
you get
there
a
might
few,
be a...
but then you get some clubs celebrating finishing 16th and 15th in the league, too, because they didn't get relegated in England.
100%.
So that's a bunch
that's
of
a great
nonsense.
point. That is a really, really good point.
Format. And I do agree in that sense. You could go to 10 teams if you had to, and you could go 5 in each conference. I'd be fine with the top 4 in each conference, but if you want to have a wild card game, have a wild card game. Okay, fine. Mm-hmm. You can do that and make it work. With this season's schedule, you could have the 4 versus 5 wild card game in each conference, do it as a doubleheader on national TV on Wednesday the 9th. Right after the season, the Wednesday after the season. You could even do it on the weekend or the Friday on the 11th. Okay, fine. Then you get down to your final 4 in each conference, your quarterfinals of the league, your semifinals of the league, your final. And you do it where you play on the 16th and the 19th. That's a Wednesday and a Saturday. Mm-hmm. Or some games are on the 17th and the 20th, a Thursday and a Sunday. That's your conference semis. Then the next week, it's the 23rd and the 26th of October for your conference final. You can have the other conference final on the next day if you want, if you don't want to do double headers. Do the 24th and the 27th. And you start your final after that, the next week. You can do legs. You can make it work. It's not rocket science.
Yeah,
There's
I
plenty
agree.
of time to do it that way. You have the schedule. You want to be done by November 10th to avoid that next international window. It's doable. You can still do legs and avoid it.
I agree, but we also know this league is going to 30 teams very soon, and when you go to 30, then having a 14-team playoff looks a lot better than it does right now. I think, Jason, they have put this structure in place with 2 things in mind. Number 1, with the knowledge that they're going to 30 teams, and number 2, with the knowledge that they're trying to get aligned with the 2022 World Cup. I get.
You can do the aligning. The aligning is the least of the concerns. You can still play 180 in the playoffs. You can still play 2 legs. If you want to, I'm comfortable right now if you had a 4-5 wild card game. If you wanted to have 2 wild card games, if you wanted to have 3, 6, and 4, 5, you can stretch it to 12, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it gets a little unwieldy. But The argument
and your
that I
TV
always
partners
have,
are going to have their say in this as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
midweek matchups,
trying to give them more games. And no, they've moved playoff games into midweek, so I'm not buying that. They've wanted playoff games in midweek spots because it's not crowded.
No, trust me. I mean, the TV partners want more games. So in Jason's plan, if you do a 10-team playoff with a wild card, and then you're playing legs in the conference semifinals, the conference finals, and MLS Cup, that's 14 total playoff games, if I'm doing my math correctly. In the current format, you would have, I can't do the math mentally, but very close to 14.
You're right.
Your TV partners are not going to complain with more playoff games. If anything, the league would probably go back to the TV partners and say, hey, we're giving you more playoff games. Give us more money.
More drama.
So, no, more games. And again, like if you're looking at it from the TV perspective, okay, you get 2 legs of Atlanta United against.
That's what I'm saying.
Pick another East team that gets really good ratings. You get 2 games of that instead of 1. Okay, and you're not running the risk of having. I mean, your big TV draws in this league are LA Galaxy, LAFC, and Atlanta United. Anything that reduces the chances of one of those teams that really draw well on TV getting knocked out after 1 game is a good thing for the TV partners. Believe me.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. I always argue with people who say, well, if you have relegation, then you have more drama. You're just flipping where the drama is in the table.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get into the postseason, your drama's in the middle of the table as opposed to the bottom. If you're trying to avoid relegation, your drama's at the bottom and not in the middle. If you finish 10th in the Premier League, what are you playing for the last month? Really not much.
Bupkis.
Yeah, you're trying to be a spoiler, and that's about it.
And Mexico's had playoffs since 1970, by the way. So it's not like MLS is really,
Yeah, they've figured it out.
Well, look, I mean, again, Zlatan's word carries a lot of weight. I understand that. It carries a lot of weight among casuals. I understand that. Zlatan is a very important person for this league. Sadly, and frankly, I think he becomes even more important for this league now that Wayne Rooney is departing. In many ways, good and bad, Zlatan is the face of this league. But the notion that having a playoff is a bad thing, I don't agree with that. I think that, like we've talked about, there are ways you can tweak it to make it better. But playoffs have worked very, very well in this hemisphere elsewhere for a very long time. I don't think there's any way to, or any reason to get away from that.
One final one for you before we go. Waffle House United asked about your thoughts on Matt Doyle's tier ranking. I don't know if you had a chance to see that over at MLSsoccer.com yet.
Help me out. I saw it glancingly, but I didn't click through.
He had LAFC as the only team in the top tier, and then he had Atlanta in the second tier with 5-6 other teams off the top of my head. And I mean, it was the usual stuff about Atlanta, like, what are they really doing, and what are they building to, and I don't really know. I mean, nothing new.
What is he talking? I have no idea what he's talking about there. Oh boy.
He's going to say what he's going to say, and you can run all the theories you want about why he does things and clicks and all this kind of stuff. I think some of it is stuff he legitimately thinks at times. Other stuff is just to draw people in to gauge conversation and get clicks. I honestly do. I mean, I'm cynical that way these days, but that's just how I'm wired.
Here's the thing. LAFC is 10 points ahead of anyone else in this league right now, and they've played 2 fewer matches than the second-place team in the Supporter Shield standings. Yes, if you want to argue that they are alone in Tier 1, by the numbers, I cannot argue against that. I feel that there are teams that are close to them, and that if they got pulled into a knockout game against Atlanta United or LA Galaxy or Seattle Sounders, it is not a guaranteed win for them. I think, there are teams that match up very well against LAFC, but I'm going to agree with Doyle. I mean, the LAFC is 10 points ahead of anyone else, and they've played 2 fewer games than the second place team. They're in their own group right now. They're on pace to shatter a ton of records. Tier 2 would be, for me, Atlanta, New York City, San Jose, maybe Seattle, maybe Minnesota.
He's got Seattle, the Galaxy, and Portland there, and he's got
Portland.
San Jose in the next
Yeah.
The Galaxy?
Yeah. Well, the Galaxy with Zlatan, I could see that. I could see that. Portland, we'll find out when we see him in person next week. I mean, look, I think everyone's assuming that with all these home matches coming up, they're going to win them all. I think we've seen evidence over the last couple days and the way that they've met. So wait, he has Portland in the second tier, but not Minnesota. Did I hear that right?
Right.
Minnesota has just beaten Portland twice in the last 72 hours or whatever it was.
It's true.
Granted, both matches in Minnesota, but that one's a little fuzzy to me.
He didn't do it in alphabetical order, so you would have to assume that it is the way he's ranked it. So Tier 2 is Seattle first, NYC second, Atlanta third, Galaxy next, Portland after that.
And not Minnesota. Yeah.
Then Philadelphia, then Minnesota, then San Jose.
Yeah, I think that's a little too conservative on San Jose. I think that's a little too aggressive on Galaxy. Seattle, I don't mind that. I mean, Seattle passed my eye test, and quite frankly, Seattle beat Atlanta United head-to-head in a really good match. I don't have an argument. I mean, honestly, now we're getting nitpicky a little bit. I do agree with Doyle's theory in putting teams in groups. Sure. Honestly, if I were to do it, I would say LAFC, that's a group. They're alone. The second group is Atlanta, New York City, Seattle,
San Jose.
And San Jose. That's a group. That ends the group. Maybe Minnesota on the fringe. Then the third group would be Minnesota, Galaxy, Philadelphia, Red Bulls. You probably still have DC United there. I would have Real Salt Lake kind of nudging into that third tier because they've been so good at home. And I would probably have Portland in that third tier, maybe in the upper third tier. I do agree with the theory of putting teams in groups. That's how I look at the NBA. I think Doyle's on the right track.
You're not dramatically different, honestly, than his first 3 tiers. It's pretty comparable. He's got RSL further back. He's got DC, again, somehow behind Toronto, which I just don't understand.
But you know what the funny thing is, Jason?
You know what the funny
thing? The whole point of putting teams in groups is to not rank them within the group. Like you put teams in groups because you can't differentiate one being clearly better than the other. So that logic's a little bit odd to me. But listen, did you notice, by the way, who went after Matt Doyle this week after a match?
I can't keep up. Oh, Adrian Heath.
Yeah, it was Adrian Heath. Yeah, he said, those guys at MLS Soccer will probably be having a funeral because we beat Portland. I thought that was hilarious. I will tell you just firsthand knowledge that there are people around the league that are a little bit rankled at times by the content that's put out by MLSsoccer.com. But they've got us talking about it, so in that sense, they're doing their job.
Yeah, I guess to a degree. Well, we'll keep talking about it. We'll see what else they have to say, and we'll see what comes out of Sunday at the Benz. We are on air at 3:30, correct?
Yeah, 3:30 on Sunday, 92.9 The Game, radio.com, Atlanta United app, and Sirius XM channel 157.
All right, all the places to listen will be there for you. See you then, Mike.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Be good.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll get back into the Twitter timeline right after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm going to let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. August 9th, SDH. Getting you set for the weekend. We've talked juice boxes. Now we've got to talk fantasy soccer, and we'll get into some prize picks as well. Let's get into the fantasy league. We always have to try to help John with his fantasy team. If we don't, he might end up with, I don't know, Carlos Grueso in his starting lineup. It's been known to happen.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we're going to try to avoid that. So,
okay.
What do you have so far? Now, remember, your Houston and your NYC players are locked already.
Avoided them.
Of the way the schedule. So you avoided them entirely. That's probably a good play.
Yeah. So, here we go. In net, Eloy Room.
Okay. So you have...
Because Cincinnati's awful.
No faith in Cincinnati. Okay. Fair enough.
0. On defense, Iko Para, Miles, Florian Jungwirth, and Leonardo Jara.
The Jara one worries me because of the Galaxy's attack. But they're at home. It's not bad.
And that was why I went that way.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Midfield, Blanco, Lapalainen, Chara, Eriksson.
Not really excited by any of those.
You're not excited by Vancouver being awful?
Yeah, but Diego Chara is not the guy who's going to do anything about that. I mean, Blanco maybe, but Blanco hasn't exactly been great lately himself.
Chara was the least expensive of the group. That was more financial and cap-based than anything else.
Yeah, but there's got to be something better there. There's got to be something better there. And Eriksson in that one on the road, maybe. I don't know. None of those are like, yes, those are great picks.
Okay. Up top, Brian Fernandez, captained, and Carlos Vela.
You were all in on the Timbers, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm all against Vancouver.
Yeah, it's a rivalry game, though. I don't know if I'd be all in on the Timbers coming off of 2 losses.
Even with most rivalry games being... I mean, I'm looking at this rivalry game, I'm looking at the over because, Vancouver being Vancouver and everything that Marc Dos Santos had to deny this week.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the team on the field, though. I I'm just saying, I think you're going to be very disappointed when it ends up being a 1-0 Portland win that's kind of tight, and it's off a set piece, and it's probably like Claude Dielna scoring.
Mabiala or somebody.
Yeah, I think you're going to be very sad at that point. The numbers last week around the leagues were not super high. Little surprising. So in our Soccer Down Here Fantasy League, presented by Jason Wright of the Jason Wright Agency. Make sure you're following him, yes. Jason Wright, AGEN on Twitter, Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. Brecken Bad was the top performer with 84 points, fourth in the Atlanta United League. So I guess points were just kind of low around the league. Goldmine was next with 78, for whom the bellow tolls 76. That's awesome. Open league standings in the Clausura League, because we're in the second half. Check yourself, 852 points. Don't var me, bro, 837. And for whom the bellow tolls, 812. Pro Rel League by Country Financial. Still undefeated. You got two that are perfect. Don't var me, bro, and Black Hall Bombers. Don't var me, bro's got them on point differential in first. Black Hall Bombers in second. 6-0-1 on 18 points. Camden Attitude, Brecken Bad, and Black Star FC. Your key matches in the Pro Rel League. Number 2, Black Hall Bombers against Port City FC, who was near the top in the Clausura, or in the Apertura, sorry. Camden Attitude, number 3, against number 5, Black Star FC. And then Brecken Bad, number 4 in the Pro Rel League, going up against Dog for Him, the number 13 team. So NYC and Houston, those are already locked. They had double games. Your other teams' players' games to look at, you got a lot of weird games where it feels like there's underdogs on the road who could pull results. I would be all in on Toronto. I think Toronto handles Orlando comfortably. That feels like a game that I'm looking at Toronto players. I'm looking at Josie Altidore there. I'm looking at Pozuelo. Sporting Kansas City over Real Salt Lake. I'm looking at Johnny Russell. I'm looking at Sporting Kansas City players. I'm looking at potentially Sporting Kansas City defenders as well. And Philadelphia-Houston. I'm looking at Philadelphia players. Both in the attack and the defense, especially in the defense for Philadelphia. I don't think Houston gets anything on the board. I think they're flat, dead, broken, and they haven't had success against Philadelphia lately anyway. I think it continues. So I would be loading up on Philly players. Those are the teams that jump out to me.
Marco Fabian?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Fabian might be expensive.
Well, but if I'm blowing up a lot of my expensive folks like Brian Fernandez, that would create some cap room.
That's true. It is very true.
Taking my Portland variant and moving it elsewhere.
Yeah, it would be a Philadelphia variant this time around. I think that's a more likely big win for the home team.
And I think I'm like top 20 in the league, period. Nowhere close to Clausura playoffiness, but yeah, top 20 with the help of you and the listeners.
Yeah, if we had left you to your own devices, you would have had Carlos Grueso probably still in the lineup.
True. I'll grant you that one.
And you don't get bonus points when he's not in the same league anymore.
I think you should. I think it should be an addition to your cap number in the currency of the league that he's in.
I'm going to go with no on that one. Just going to go with no, and we're going to move on. All right. My Prize Picks. Sign up if you have not at myprizepicks.com or download the Prize Picks app. On any device you got, you can download the Prize Picks app. You make a deposit, you use the code SDH, you get 25% of your initial deposit matched, up to $1,000. It's a lot of juice boxes. That's matched because you're using the code SDH. You're also getting a free roll, 2-pick play, $25 value. And if you half of it, you're going to get $10 back. You're good. It's a good way to get started with Prize Picks. The Premier League is on Prize Picks. So you've got lots of options now. You can mix and match. I'm just going to run through what you have available this weekend to pick from. You have the PGA Tour. You have baseball. You have NFL preseason, or you did if you'd played yesterday. You have the WNBA. You have esports. You can put a pick on Polar Bear Mike or Panda Cat. You could play either one. Panda Cat's 44.5. That's a big number for whatever esport it is. Watch out for Panda Cat.
Never gotten esports. Never understood that.
You could play the CFL. You could pick Brandon Banks with the Hamilton Tiger Cats to go over 15.1.
Yeah, that'd be about right.
You've got MMA, and it's got their nicknames in there too, which definitely helps with my picks. The Silent Assassin, Vicente Luque. That's a big number. He's going to have a big night. You've got tennis. You've got baseball. You've got all kinds of options. NASCAR is in the mix as well. You can mix and match. But let's talk about the MLS board first off. Right now, and more picks will be added here. It is still being built. Carlos Heel is back on the board. One of my favorites. 4.5 is the number. I still like the over on Carlos Heel at 4.5. David Accam, 5.5. Pozuelo, 7.5. I kind of like the over on that one. Nani, 5.5. Darwin Quintero, 4.5. Albert Rusnak, 4.5. Kai Kamara, 6. Jeremy Ebobisse, 5. Those are your MLS plays on the board right now. You want to look over at some other matches today in the Premier League. Mo Salah, 12. That's a large number to start the season.
Liverpool. What's Salah at? Does Salah have a number today?
12. I just said it.
32.
Okay, you're going to go over on that, I guess.
I'm going to go over on Salah. Pretty much any number involving a Liverpool player, over. Any number involving
Bobby Firmino at 8.
Nah, under.
Oh, well, see, you just set up a whole big thing and it broke it on Roberto Firmino.
Yeah, because I don't think that Firmino is gonna get the number. I think it's going to be a combination of folks. It's going to be a bunch of folks, but I think that Salah with shots and a goal, I think, is going to go over.
What about Teemu Pukki? 4.
Under
on the 4?
Under. I mean, okay. I think that it's going to be a complete and total clampdown. As much as I have him on my fantasy team, this ain't the week to start him.
Okay, some other numbers in the Premier League because you've got a pretty good board here for the Premier League kicking off. Sergio Aguero, 10.5 against West Ham tomorrow morning. Raheem Sterling's on a 7.5.
Over.
Everton Sigurdsson's on a 6.
Ooh.
Richarlison on a 5.5.
Under.
Callum Wilson and Bournemouth on a 7.
Oh, that's right there too. I'll go over.
Harry Kane, 10.5.
Under.
Glenn Murray of Brighton on a 3.
Under.
Ashley Barnes of Burnley on a 3.5.
Under.
Okay. No, not even 3 shots.
Nope. Anything involving Burnley and Brighton, under until further notice.
Okay. All right. Well, you can mix and match
under.
Pukki and Kai Kamara if you feel so inclined. You've got all kinds of options.
I'm not inclined.
Over
not inclined, sir.
Well, you can go the unders. You can bet the unders.
Under, and under. I feel like Joker's wild here.
Yeah, but it's all on
Norwich,
Prize Picks.
Under.
MyPrizePicks.com. Use the code SDH when you sign up. You're going to get stuff. You're going to get free rolls. It's pretty cool. You can win some money. Go follow Daniel Price if you need some tips on the MLS side. He does pretty well for himself.
Price Picks Guru. Yeah, he's doing pretty well because I mean he's got a striker who's being added to the family. I think after the first of the year, true, or late this year.
Yes.
So he's He's got reinforcements coming for the Price clan, so he's got to figure stuff out on Prize Picks.
It is true. All right, we're going to take one more break. We're going to get into the Twitters and finish off any comments you guys have to finish off the week. I believe John is headed off to – which school are you hitting up first?
Let's see. Houston County, catching up with Ryan Crawford. Then after that, it's Kevin Kinsler at Northside Warner Robins, and then Marquise Westbrook at Warner Robins and the Land Turner at Veterans. So it's a day here in Central Georgia, and you'll see the stuff on GPB sometime soon. So I'm hopping into a car right now as Shane Keating is getting ready to go. So mucha plata, y'all.
All right. We will talk to John on Sunday for our tailgate show. 12:30 from the Gulch with the Faction, presented by Appolinsky and Associates.
Saturday, too.
Yeah, there's so much stuff going on right now. I was just talking about one thing first. We'll fill in everybody else on the rest of the action all weekend long on the SDH network because it's a busy one. After you're gone, so go talk to Jake Fromm's former coach. I'm assuming he was Jake Fromm's former coach.
That was yesterday. Yeah, talked to Jake Fromm's former coach yesterday.
Well, there you go.
I think Ryan was an assistant for Jake, but I caught up with Vaughn Laster yesterday. So it was fun stuff. And, so we're off and running. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata to John, and we'll be back right after this with your tweets.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Appolinsky of Appolinsky and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Final segment of the week. Soccer Down here, August 9th. If you have any final comments, tweet them at me at Soccer Down here at Longshoe as well. Flying solo while John goes to get some of that content for the high school football crowd because we are getting back into that realm of things this weekend. I know there's scrimmages and such. I don't know if they do jamborees still at this point, but you might have some of those happening. Couple weeks of preseason in high school football, and then all the action starts to count. John's got to get ready for that. I'll get you set for the weekend around the soccer world. As John alluded to, it's a busy weekend for us here on the SDH platform, and hopefully you'll join us either in person or on the app and online for everything that we've got coming up the rest of the weekend. It starts later today, 5:30 till about 7:30. We will be live from the Brewhouse Cafe in Little Five Points after the Liverpool-Norwich match to kick off the Premier League. Myself, Jessica Sharman, will get you set with a Premier League preview edition of Soccer Over There. It will also serve as the kickoff to a party happening at the Brew House tonight with the Atlanta Manchester City supporters group, and they are welcoming Manchester City supporters groups from all over the country to town this weekend, and a bunch of them are going to hang out and go to the Atlanta NYC match on Sunday. But Manchester City is also on hand, and they're bringing a lot of trophies. And one thing that I thought was very cool is that they are also bringing the trophies that the Manchester City women have won in the last year. It's been quite the trophy haul for Manchester City, and they will be on hand today. Sean Wright Phillips, Manchester City legend, England legend, will be joining us on the show as well sometime after 7 o'clock. He is making the rounds all over Atlanta, doing media all weekend. He will be on 92.9 The Game with Dukes and Bell today at 2:20. You can check that interview out. Jessica and I, 5:30 to 7:30, talking Premier League from the Brew House today. Join us on hand at the Brew, or listen to us on the app on soccerdownhere.net on Spreaker. Tomorrow, starting at around 11 o'clock, we will be on hand at Marvel Soccer in Johns Creek for a very cool event bringing together former Atlanta Chiefs. It's almost like an Atlanta soccer homecoming, and specifically a Chiefs homecoming. It's something that we've been wanting to do more and more of as we go and really dig deeper into the historical stuff. It's a cool cross-section of former Chiefs hitting both eras of the Atlanta Chiefs. Nick Papadakis is joining us. John Cocking is joining us. Both played for the original Atlanta Chiefs. Jeff Solom, who played for the Atlanta Apollos in 1973, which was a lot of the original Chiefs. Different ownership. Instead of the Braves owning it, it was the Hawks and the Flames at the time, and the Omni Group that owned the Apollos gave it a go in 1973. Jeff Solom played for them. He also went on to play and help found the Data Graphics Soccer Club that we've talked about recently. Alan Hamlin is another player who was part of that Chiefs Apollos era. So we're going to get into the earliest days of pro soccer with Alan, with Jeff, with Nick, with John, and talk about what it was like back at that time. John Cocking was part of the 1968 championship squad. He went on to be a very successful high school coach at Lovett and helped get that program off the ground and make it one of the top programs in the state. We're going to get into all those things about the earliest days of Atlanta soccer. You can join us on hand at Marvel Soccer in Johns Creek on Saturday, starting at about 11 o'clock. You can also listen on the app, the website, on Spreaker as well. Then Sunday, tailgate show presented by Appolinsky & Associates, 12:30 from the Gulch with our friends, The Faction. Get you set for everything Atlanta and NYC related. We'll have some updates, and Joseph Martinez is the big story at the moment. He was involved in training today in Marietta. Waiting to see if we get any comments out of Marietta. Doug Robertson will have an updated story, but Joseph Martinez did train today ahead of the match. We'll get some comments. We don't have any comments hitting yet. It's all just Joseph is training. Doug did not see Vasquez out training, and we have not heard an update yet. So make sure you're following Doug Robertson, AJC, Chris Furmeister, CCFUHR, Felipe Cardenas, Joe Patrick. All of them are on hand at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground right now, and they'll all have comments from players and from Frank DeBoer when they are available here, probably in the next hour. And we'll talk about all of that and anything else leading up to Atlanta and NYC on the Tailgate Show on Sunday. You can join us at the Gulch, but you can also watch and listen on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, on my Twitter at Longshoe as well. That's the schedule. It's a busy one the rest of the weekend. It's going to be a fun one, though. Let's get back into the Twitter and close everything down on a Friday. Daniel Price, prediction for the weekend, 2-0 Atlanta win. Scoreless until the 80th, fine to late against NYC. I hope not. I don't want to go through another one of those games. I hope it's an easier win, Daniel, but I'm going to disagree with Doug in that I don't think NYC comes into bunker. I do think they try to control the game through possession. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. I was really shocked at the change in formation last night. And for a team like NYC that has had so much success in the 3-4-3, I think it fit the identity that they want to have. And look, they want to control matches. And this was something that Frank DeBoer has said a lot this season about control. It's something that we talked about yesterday with Tony Annan on a 1v1 on the academy side. They want to dominate matches. You don't always do that through possession, but that's how NYC has done it, is through possession in their 3-4-3. I want to see what they do. And if they go 3-4-3, they're going to turn to a couple of young players who are going to have to play big roles. James Sands in the back. Is he ready for this? We saw Keaton Parks last night. Is he ready to be in the midfield with Alexander Ring? Do they go back to Ofori? Do they go to something else? I want to see NYC's lineup, and I thought for sure it would be 3-4-3 until Dome Tarrant threw something out different last night. And how many players come out of that healthy, fit, ready to go 90 at the Benz on Sunday, we'll have to see. The Faction announcing that Majestic Soccer, one of the longtime clubs in the Atlanta District Amateur Soccer League, they are having their alumni weekend, and they will be on hand at the tailgate at the Faction. So maybe we'll grab a Majestic player or two and get them on the tailgate show. Shiva chimes in, and Shiva might adapt her prediction. It says 2-2. We don't have Joseph, and 2-2 has always been a score between us. Well, might have Joseph. Don't know for how long, and I would not expect for anything like, I wouldn't expect anything like 75 minutes. I think maybe off the bench is where I'm thinking, but that could be enough. Mr. Green, 919_Falcoholic, 3-2 to Atlanta, stoppage time winner from Pitti. Oh, I'd like that. That would be nice. Chris Hutchison asked, does Atlanta United mark any of their training fields to NYCFC dimensions to practice on prior to away games in New York? We'll see. I don't remember if they did that in the past. I think they did under Tata Martino. We'll see how Frank DeBoer attacks it later this year. I know a lot of clubs do. You just want to get used to playing in condensed space. I think for teams that are possession-oriented teams, you don't have to do as much, because you want to be close to one another anyway. Like, that's the whole part of possession, is you want to get numbers around the ball when you have it. So you're used to playing in tight spaces. I don't think it's as much of an adjustment for teams like that. Eric Hunter said, I believe the Yankee Stadium infield pitch is bad because there's no chance they'll sacrifice the infield conditions for their $300 million Yankee payroll. You can't tell me the grounds crew doesn't err way towards one of the most valuable teams in all sports. I agree, but you've had 5 years to figure this out and make it better. That's my frustration with it, is it's gotten worse, not better. You should be able to figure some strategies out at some point and still protect the infield. I don't know. It's something they're going to have to figure out. It's something they're going to have to get better at. I don't think they're going to find a new place to play next year, maybe not even the year after. Any kind of building project in New York is going to take time to bring to fruition. So even if they announce something before the end of this year, they're not going to move in anytime soon. So they have to make it better at Yankee Stadium. They have to have a better surface, one way or another. John Roper asked about Brandon Vasquez and his recovery. Hadn't heard anything about him training this week, and it sounds like he's not training today. So hopefully Frank DeBoer will address that afterwards, and we'll see what he has to say. So stay tuned, John, on that one. Lots of excitement about Joseph Martinez and training, as there should be. DMM, Prophet of Mars 1 on Twitter, chimed in on Waffle House's tweet about Doyle's ranking. DMM said, I tend to agree. They benefit from not being successful last year, talking about LAFC. Welcome to Parity League. This year is a success if we pull off USOC, the Open Cup, and sneak into the playoffs. I don't think you're going to have to sneak into the playoffs if you're Atlanta United. I think it's more about where you fit into the playoff race. I don't think you're trying to sneak in. I think Toronto's trying to sneak in, for example. DMM says, honestly, I'm okay without a deep cup run. The boys need an off-season with league calendar and CCL starting early. CCL, if you get in, first off, and if you win the Open Cup or win your conference or win MLS Cup, then you get into CCL. You might not get there if you don't win the Open Cup. It's one thing to keep in mind. You will have a better off season this year than you did last, just because of where it'll fall. I mean, you'll start preseason training maybe a week earlier than you did this year in mid-January. Maybe you'll get into that second week of January. So a little earlier, but you'll finish, even if you go all the way to MLS Cup, you'll finish a whole month earlier. That's if you get to MLS Cup. So you'll have more of an off season no matter what. That's one thing to keep in mind here. Waffle House, and I didn't get into it with Mike about the ranking. We just got into the basics of it. Waffle House also said, where do you think LAFC would be if they had to deal with all Atlanta has had to deal with this season? Injuries, national team players, etc. I don't think they'd be close to where they are now. And I agree. I don't think they're as deep. I think if they had been missing Carlos Vela during the Gold Cup, during those latter stages, they would have lost some points in that run. If they had had the injuries that Atlanta's had, if Jordan Harvey, for example, went down, they'd have issues. If Steven Beitashour went down for an extended period of time, outside back, they'd have issues. If they were missing Diego Rossi, equivalent to an Ezequiel Barco, they'd have issues. So yeah, I think they've been fortunate. They've been more rested. They have not had the injuries to deal with. They haven't had as many absences to deal with. It's helped them, and that's why they are where they are. It happens. We talk about this in the Premier League a lot, where you have a team that doesn't play in Europe, and they have a little bit easier road than a Manchester City or a Liverpool because of that. Because they're not playing midweek as much. They're not as extended. They just have a little bit more manageable schedule. It does help you. I don't think it's even as much of the parity as just sometimes that schedule works out for you. All right, Jorge B. It feels like every time they put a microphone to Zlatan, he has something negative to say about the league. And I feel it is their fault for failing to act when he was not suspended for that infamous elbow incident. I don't know if it's the league's fault for Zlatan having a big mouth. I think Zlatan's going to speak his mind no matter what, but I 100% agree about failing to act on the elbow. It should have been a 2-game suspension, because without a red card in the game, without that going to VAR, which it should have, and on-field review, which it should have, and I think would have resulted in a red, you were capped at 2 games. That was all the disciplinary committee could give, and they should have given it. The fact that they still felt like they had to warn him means that they think something was wrong in what he did. If something's wrong in what he did, it's a suspension, because it should have been a red card. It's like they tried to go halfway. You can't go halfway with an incident like that. It's player safety. Should have been a 2-game suspension when it went to the disciplinary committee. It should have been a red card on the field, and probably at least 2 games with the red card. But when it goes to disciplinary committee, you're capped at 2. It should have been 2. Tafka says Matt Doyle is the Will Johnson of pundits. Well, Will Johnson's had a long career, and Will Johnson riles people up. He gets people going. We've seen it many times, so that's not necessarily an insult. I don't know if Tafka meant it that way. I don't think that's that far off. An antagonist, let's say. All right. Waffle also goes on to say about Atlanta United, I also think what Atlanta United has done this season is more impressive than what LAFC has done. Injuries to key players, CONCACAF, players actually playing for their national teams, coach and player drama in air quotes. Yeah, I mean, I think what Atlanta's done is really impressive, and I don't think it's gotten enough credit. I think when you have some of the lines that were in the explanation, and this is what I'll get into for a second, in the tier piece, when things are said like your new coach is constantly tinkering with new formations and lineups, that's incorrect. That's 100% incorrect. And I'm going to follow a timeline here, and you tell me if you think this is tinkering or not. When Franco Escobar was out, Frank de Boer made a comment about not being able to play 4 in the back because he didn't have a right back. When Franco Escobar came back, he went to 4 in the back. So playing 3-4-3 at the beginning is not tinkering. He did it because of an injury. Now, you can argue, and Doug, for example, has said they should have went to 3-5-2 there. Maybe they should have. You would have had to change who was available and change things around more than you did in the 3-4-3, but okay. That's fine. It's not tinkering, though. You changed to something because of an injury. That's different. Escobar comes back, you go to 4-3-3. You have good success with it. Then you have more injuries. Breck Shea, done. You haven't gotten George Bello back yet. Mikey Ambrose, also unavailable at the time. You don't have anybody on the left. You don't have a left back. So you decide to go 3-5-2 because that's what you have available at that time. Not tinkering. Have you seen different players in different spots? At times, sure. The tinkering thing, and to say that he is constantly tinkering with new formations and lineups, I completely disagree with that. I think that's just an incorrect statement. Really nothing else to say. I think also trying to play up comments like, I'm not entirely certain that the locker room isn't going through some sort of players' revolt. I think that's a little heavy-handed. And by design, it gets people talking, obviously, but revolt is, no, that's not what's happening here. Meanwhile, where's the talk about a player's revolt with the Red Bulls, for example? Aaron Long's agent been very vocal about not getting what he wanted in terms of a move outside of the team. Now it sounds like they're trying to move Michael Murillo within the league. Derek Etienne, not happy about being sent out on loan to Cincinnati. That's a lot of stuff. Not really any talk about it, though, from that regard. Just saying. Also says, still not entirely certain what their kind of style they're trying to play, what kind of style they're trying to play, and what their best formation is, and how to get Ezequiel Barco, Tito Villalba, and Pity Martinez onto the field together. Well, you haven't had the option to get Barco, Tito, and Pity on the field together much at all this season. So how you're going to do that is probably play in a 4-3-3, which then answers your question about the best formation if you decide that you've got to get those three on the field together. If you decide that you'd rather have Julian Gressel as a wingback than Tito Villalba on the field, well, then that's a different conversation altogether. But these are the things managers have to figure out. It's not what you're trying to make here. That's a simple decision. And you go through it. In some games, you might decide, I want Gressel putting in crosses. Some games, you might decide, I want Villalba and his speed and his unpredictability up top. So then it comes back to the whole thing about, I'm certain this team is tough as hell. Completely agree. One of the most talented in the league. Completely agree. That gets you some leeway. That's a little insulting in my book. I think this team is far better than needing some leeway. Says that talent's not enough. You need cohesion, buy-in, and the ability to execute at high levels in pressure situations. The fact that they've done as much in the Open Cup, and we'll get to see them in the Campeones Cup as well. I don't think that has anything to do with it. The fact they've done as much in the Open Cup suggests that, come playoff time, they'll be just fine. So many other things suggest otherwise. Disagree with the last statement completely. I think what they've done in the Open Cup shows you that they can do this in knockout game situations like the playoffs will be. Anyway, we have disagreements. It's okay. That is Matt Doyle's role. He's trying to get people talking. He does a good job of it. I think sometimes he does it through statements that are just incorrect, and that's where I get frustrated. Frank DeBoer has not been tinkering this season. I think he's had to make changes due to injuries and availability, and he's done a pretty good job of it, to be honest, to get them where they're at. Robert Swick on Twitter, the Swickster, looking at NYCFC's remaining schedule. Of their 12 remaining games, 5 of them will have full rest. With the U.S. Open Cup and Campeones Cup, Atlanta will have 2. Assuming no injuries, NYCFC may set to be a juggernaut this postseason. Maybe. It's possible. Let's go back through some of the things that Doyle just said about Atlanta. I thought NYC had settled on the best way to play with 3-4-3. I thought it accentuated the strengths of Matarrita and Tinnerholm and gave Mitrita a really nice free roll. Bear as your focal point up top. You can mix and match on the other side with a few different options. Alexander Ring is in a prominent role. Gives you an extra defender to balance. I thought that was their best way to play. I don't know why they went to 4-2-3-1 last night. You want to incorporate Eric Miller? You play him as a wing back? That's even easier for him instead of playing a right back. Okay, let's see what NYC does. I think they tinker. I think maybe they tinker too much. But they have talent, and Matrica, for me, is one of the best, most skilled players in the league. I think Alexander Matrica is just a wonderful player. Bear is a great focal point for this team up top. He can drift out wide. Good combination play with Matrica. Alexander Ring's one of the best holding midfielders in the league. He's been that since he stepped into it. Alexander Callan's really good center back. Sean Johnson, good goalkeeper. Does make some big mistakes at times you have to worry about. I think NYC is a very, very good team. Having more rest more often will help them a lot. Don't know if it guarantees that they become that juggernaut, though. Mr. Green followed up on my freewheeling talk about a playoff format, and we're kind of on the same page here, I think. 5 teams from each conference. The 4 seed hosts the 5 in a first-round knockout. Winner plays the number 1. Second round and conference finals, 2 legs. MLS Cup hosted by the team with the most regular season points. Tiebreakers, best home record. If still tied, award MLS Cup match on an alternating basis. Nope, disagree with that part. There's tiebreakers. You can get all the way down. 6th and 7th place in East-West to play in Leagues Cup. I think they don't want teams that low in the table to play in the Leagues Cup. I think if you're 6th and 7th, you're just SOL, 6th and 7th. So I could go with that. If you had to extend it to have 6 teams in each conference and 3 play 6 and 4 play 5, we've seen that before. I don't love it. I can deal with it if that's just something you want to do. I would do exactly what Mr. Green says here. 5 teams from each conference, and I would have that happen. Your final regular season games are on the 6th of October, if you did that this season. I would play your wild card games on either the 10th or the 11th. That's a Thursday or Friday, or play one each day, or do a doubleheader, East-West, whatever you want to do. Okay. Then your conference semifinals. Series 1, first game on October 16th, Wednesday. Second game on Saturday the 19th. Series 2, first game on Thursday the 17th. Game 2, Sunday the 20th. Easy. Done. Conference finals. Game 1. Take your pick, whatever you want to do for TV partners. Wednesday the 23rd or Thursday the 24th. You can separate them. You can keep them together, however you want to do it. Second game, for the games on the 23rd, you play on the 26th. It's a Saturday. If you play on the Thursday the 24th, you play the second game on the 27th on a Sunday. That's your conference finals. You can take the next week off, and you can have MLS Cup, or if you want, you could have MLS Cup over 2 weekends. Home and away, and I would have it home and away. Do the whole playoffs home and away. 2-leg series. You could have a Saturday, November 2nd, first leg, and a Saturday, November 9th, second leg, or a Sunday, November 3rd, first leg, and Sunday, November 10th, which is the date for this year's MLS Cup, second leg. Your playoffs are done in the same period of time that you want to have them done this year because you want to avoid the November international window. And it's a much more competitive way to determine a champion. That's where I would go with it. And your Leagues Cup stuff can stay about the same, and you're all good, and everything's fine. All right, final tweets to get into before we wrap up here for the weekend. Let's see, do we have anything? Everybody's excited about Joseph, which, yes, I completely agree. Tafka is back with us. 27 total hours, but nephew Wilder has arrived safe and healthy. All are doing great. Tafka is an uncle. Congratulations, Tafka. First-time uncle from Tafka's side of the family. Very cool. And Daniel Price chimed in, yes, a striker is on the way, and it will be a striker for the U.S. women's national team. Very exciting. Very good stuff, Daniel. Very good stuff, Tafka. Very good stuff to all of you. Thanks for contributing all week long. Lots of stuff for you coming up. If you haven't checked out the 1v1 with Tony Annan, please do so. Tony's always very open. Couldn't give away all the secrets about what's coming up with Atlanta United's Academy, but he did tease a few things. Also gave a lot of insight on the development plan and just how difficult it is. Just how it's not easy to develop professional players. It's a process, and you have to be patient with the process. But I thought Tony was really open with the conversation, so go check that out. It's on the app. It's on the website. It's on the Spreaker page as well. It was from yesterday afternoon, about 30 minutes listen for you. Later today, Premier League preview, 5:30 to 7:30. Myself and Jessica Sharman live from the Brew House. You can come down and hang out. You can listen to it live on all of the usual outlets. Tomorrow, we'll have some history conversation for you with 4 former Atlanta Chiefs, Atlanta Apollos players. Get into the early days of Atlanta soccer with them. You can also come hang out and meet them at Marvel Soccer in Johns Creek. Sunday, tailgate show, 12:30 from the Gulch with the Faction, presented by Apollinski & Associates. You can join us live, or you can watch and listen on Twitter, hopefully without connection issues like last week. That was bonkers, so sorry about that. You can watch and listen on Soccer Down here. You can watch and listen on my Twitter at Longshoe. If you guys want that on the app, let me know, and I'll try to figure out the best way to feed it straight to the app. It'd just be audio, obviously, but if that's easier for you, we can do it where it just goes straight to the app and not worry about the video side of it. Let me know what you prefer. Tweet at us. Give us your thoughts. We try to give you what you need and what you want. Thanks, everybody, for allowing us to do this and talk so much soccer with you guys. It's a busy weekend. Get your rest. Get ready for a huge one on Sunday. Atlanta and NYC is always a spectacle. I don't think this one's going to be any exception to that. Thank you so much. Mucha plata, y'all.